All right, here we are at the Basketball Academy, and we are just so grateful to have Coach McGuff from the Ohio State University talking hoops with us this week. So, Coach, please take a moment and talk about yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Like you said, I'm the head coach at Ohio State, and this is starting my 11th season, which is like 25 everywhere else because this is a hard place to be a long time with the expectations and so forth. But I absolutely love being here. For me, I grew up in the state of Ohio, in Hamilton, Ohio. So this is a dream job for me, and I really, really love it. And got incredible resources, and they really want to win around here. So this has been great. You know, prior to coming to Ohio State, I was the head coach at the University of Washington in Seattle for two seasons, and loved it there, and really would have stayed there a long time had this job not come open and I could get it. And when I went there, the program was a little down, and we had 2 good years to kind of get it back going in the right direction. And then when I left, my assistant Mike Neighbors took over, and he did a phenomenal job of even elevating what we had started. And we were fortunate; we recruited Kelsey Plum there, and she went on to have a great season and become the all-time leading scorer in the history of the game. And ironically, too, then I recruited Kelsey Mitchell to Ohio State, and she was number 2. So I had a chance to recruit some really good point guards who could score the ball. And then before that, I was the head coach at Xavier for 9 seasons. We had a lot of success there. It was an absolute great place to work, and an incredible first head coaching job for me. And we had some wonderful players, Amber Harris, Shia Phillips, who were both first-round picks in the WNBA. And we were able to make an Elite 8 run at Xavier, which was awesome. And before that, I had 2 great assistance jobs. I was an assistant at Miami of Ohio for 3 years, my first job, and then spent 6 great seasons at Notre Dame under Muffet McGraw, and she was an incredible mentor. And we were able to win a national championship in 2001. So that's just a little bit about my journey in coaching history.
Man, love it, Coach. And just doing a deep dive on your program, and seeing some of the great wins last year, the Tennessee win, the Ohio win, Louisville win. How I got introduced to you guys specifically was there was a coach in your conference in the Big Ten when I was running a coaching clinic, and said, hey, this team's running some really innovative stuff. Can we hop on Synergy and take a look at what you see? And you guys were running touch action. You're running double away. At one point, you're running Bilbao. And I remember thinking, man, this guy won way ahead of the curve, but he plays in amazing shapes and affordances offensively. And I know you said that you watch the Bucks a little bit to steal their offense. You're a big hoops junkie and watch Euro basketball. Any other things that you just were gravitated towards for the spacing of the 5-out and delay on the W or the NBA side that really drew your attention?
Yeah, kind of a little bit about like our offense. So when I got to Washington, we didn't have a lot of post players. Well, first year we had a really good post player, Regina Rogers. But then heading into the second year, our post players graduated, except for we had recruited Katie Collier, who was a great player. And so, she was going to probably be our starting center as a freshman. And then she tears her ACL in the summer. So I'm sitting there in the summer, and Neighbors comes into my office, and so kind of like, well, what are we going to do on offense? I was like, I don't know. And so I kind of started talking to some people, and I heard about the dribble drive. So I get Vance Walberg's number, and I text him, and I said, hey, I'm just trying to figure out if you're going to be doing a clinic or something, can I come? And he calls me in like 2 minutes, and we talked for like an hour. And anybody who knows Vance or seen him at a clinic or on a Zoom, nobody loves basketball more than Vance. I've never met anybody who loves. Matter of fact, I was just on a Zoom with him on Wednesday. We were talking about the press, and it was 5:30 in the morning in California, and it's like he's as alive as ever. I mean, he loves it. So anyways, so we started running the dribble drive at Washington, and it was really good to us. And then I ran the dribble drive at Ohio State for the first 5 or 6 years. But I just was kind of looking for something more, because after a while, I just felt like we didn't move the ball. We didn't share the ball enough. We were good on offense, but I thought there was a higher level. So I really started looking at what they were doing in the NBA and in Europe. And I had a contact with the Bucks. So I did 3 or 4 Zooms with them, and really, really liked what I saw. And so what we do now is I've kind of combined the NBA in Europe and WNBA 5-out stuff with the dribble drive. So we run all the NBA and WNBA and Europe actions and then we will end with dribble drive concepts. Because in the NBA, they'll run like a, touch action or whatever, and they'll take one dribble, step back, fade away to 17 foot and make it. And for us, that's not a good shot for us. So we run all those actions, and then we've found a way to flow into dribble drive if those don't work, so we can continue to play in space and attack.
Yeah, my favorite part about that, I'm sorry, I became did a huge deep dive on your team. It was so fun to watch. But like when you run Mike Sell off of a double, you do that a lot and it works beautifully. It looks like your team has such great cognition. Like her feel of if someone's trailing, I'm going to tight curl this. And there's no lag. It's lag free. How in the stages of development, did you just let them run and play 3-on-3 with it? Did you let them discover on their own?
We do a lot of say 4-on-4, and we do it against our practice guys. And I'll tell I'll tell the practice guys, like, hey, when Taylor was here last year, like, hey, when she starts to cut off the screen, I want you to jump the screen. And that's what we would call reject it. And so then she rejects it, and then we turn around into a ball screen. Then the next time, hey, I want you to really get up and just trail her. Then the next time I want you to go under, and then she'll fade. And so we do that almost daily, just so they get really good at reading how people are playing them, and they can play through it. Through the reads.
With that, like watching you on the sideline, you're really stoic. And is that like a development of, okay, we need to let them fail for a while, we need some bike riding time, and I need to bite my tongue? Or do you feel you need to step in pretty often to
right now, I'm probably in the beginning, I step in a lot more at this time of year. And then if we're doing it right and teaching them right as the season goes, they're really getting a good feel about how to read. I just think like my philosophy is, I think that's the hardest thing to guard. When you're running an offense where the cutters and so forth can make reads depending upon how the defense guards them. The other thing is, I think it's the best way to develop players is to teach them, because so many people, and there's a lot of different ways to do this, but a lot of people are just going to run set plays, go point A to point B to point C, and I don't know if you really truly learn how to play the game that way, in my opinion. And I also think that's a lot harder to disrupt, or a lot easier to disrupt and guard. I know what you're doing. We take one thing away, and you don't have a counter for it because it has to go that way for you. So that's sort of a little bit of the philosophy on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. The I guess the last part I loved about your culture and what you've cultivated, you use the word competitive character a lot, and I really enjoyed that. Is that something it's in the players that you recruit? Is that something you foster at practice? Does that come about naturally?
A little bit of both. I certainly pay attention to that in the recruiting process. I want, it's funny. I had a mother of a recruit ask me, what's a player that doesn't do well in your program? And the two things I said is, one, you got to love the game to play here, just because, we're always working at it, and I'm always tinkering and this and that. And you got to really be locked in and focused and just love that. And then you got to have great competitive character, because we do a lot of competitive stuff year round. Because I just think that kind of elevates everybody, the more competitive we can be. And I just want that to be a real part of the core values of this program.
Well, that's awesome. So, Coach, more on that competitive character, like what are you looking for to see, like how do you measure if they can compete or not?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you got to really pay attention to how hard they play. Everybody, in high school and AAU, everybody's playing hard on offense or trying to score, but are they competing on defense? I think most competitive people with competitive character are usually coachable. I think you see that. So, and then we talk to the coaches and the people around them, just to what are they like when they work out. And I'll give you, a great example for us is when we recruited Cody McMahon. I mean, she's just an hour from us, and obviously you could see her talent early on, very early on. But she was a little raw when she was young. But you could tell she played really hard, and she competed. And I was really shocked though when she got here. Now, I mean, she competed and played hard, but I'm telling you, she competes on every possession, in every rep, in every drill, in everything that we do. And I think that's why she's made such great progress already, and still has not reached anywhere near her potential. It's just how hard she competes in everything that we do.
Yeah. So Also, you talked about a step back not being a great shot for your team. And I've also heard in other
Yeah.
podcasts that you talk about shot selection. And how do you create clarity for your players to understand like what a good shot is? Like it, I mean, believe shot selection is how you win and lose games. And it can't just
Yeah.
be like a simple conversation that happens once. So how do you create clarity and just the importance of
Yeah.
doing it over and over?
Yeah, well, one is we got a few simple rules. It's one, and it's really simple. It's like I only want you taking shots you can make. So if we're in practice and you never make threes and you want to show up in the game and shoot threes, it just doesn't work. So I know it's simple, but you kind of got to explain it. The next part would be if you can take a shot that you've proven you can make, and I'm fine with it unless somebody's got a better one. So the ball's getting swung, and there's a one more pass, and you can get a three off, but it's going to be slightly contested. You can go one more, and they're wide open. You got to go one more because they got a better. Okay, there's that, and then we kind of get into we love layups and we like threes, and I'm not saying they can't shoot the mid range. They can, because we got some people like JC Sheldon. That's a really good shot for her. Right. And we run some actions that kind of some step up screens that kind of lend themselves to mid range shots, but I don't want like a ton of them. And then the last thing that I kind of try to emphasize with them is, like, I'd stopped practice the other day. We were scrimmaging our scout team, and we took 4 threes in a row and we missed them all. It's like timeout. Like we got to get some balance in what we're doing. We take a couple threes and miss. We got to run the offense to the point we get a drive at the basket to try to get a shot around the rim or to the free throw line. So that's kind of how I coach shot selection.
That's awesome. I think my final one for the offense, I'm sorry, it's all offense related, but it's just,
it's fine.
Yeah, cool. So I love with you guys, I like to call them triggers or automatics or NBAs, your next best action. And watching you guys, there's such a great job. Your person who's at the top, Rebecca, she'll set a screen and someone goes under and she immediately twists it.
Yeah.
And then you play from there. Did you find it took a while to implement these automatics? Do you think the girls got them pretty effortlessly?
It takes a little while, but I will say Rebecca's really good at that. We like move the ball through our 5 a lot, especially when she's in there, and she keeps the ball moving, whether it's the extra pass or it's a screen or a handoff and a rescreen or whatever. When they go under, she does a great job with that. And it's interesting. We have gotten most of our perimeter players from the States. In the last few years, we've gotten most of our post players from Europe. And, it allows us, they play on the perimeter, so it allows us to play the 5 out effectively. And I don't know, I think they do, in general, a great job of developing post players over there and teaching them how to play. And so she's been really good with that stuff for us.
Awesome. And I guess with that, are you guys able to still crash and put pressure on the rim, even though you're spaced beyond the 3-point line? Have you found best practices there?
That's the one area where you give some things up. As a matter of fact, I asked the Milwaukee Bucks assistant, and he was like, that's one thing we haven't had an answer for. So what I tell our kids, there's a couple things is, one, you have to do one or the other. You have to crash or you got to get back. And if we didn't get enough people crashing, we sure as heck better not give up anything in transition defense. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, one thing we kind of try to do is from the corners, kind of transition back through the elbows, where you'll get some long rebounds off of threes and so forth.
That's great. Yeah, I think the Warriors do that better than anybody.
Yeah. So understand, I love your style, love your actions. You're teaching players how to play. And not only that, but you're getting them to play either professionally overseas or the WNBA. What are you doing skill development wise to ensure your players again have a plan? You're like one-on-one meetings. Do you guys I usually create like SWOT analysis plans for them. So what do you do to make a plan for them?
Yeah, well, we meet at the end of every season and kind of recap the season, obviously, and then from a skill development standpoint, I like to give them like 3 big things to work on in the off season. I don't know. I don't think if you go out and try to get better at 10 things, you necessarily do. And then, my staff does a great job. Like Carla Morrow's on my staff. She worked in the WNBA, and we put together a book. We kind of have a shot analysis, like, because what you'll find, as you guys know, because you guys do this a lot, like, when you analyze a kid shots at the end of the year is, on one side they may shoot significantly better than the other side, and it's usually a footwork situation, because it's for right-handed shooters, it's easier to make threes on the left side than the right side. So then we'll say, hey, we're going to get a lot more reps over here and stuff like that. And then, obviously then if there's a deficiency with a left hand or something, then we're going to address it in this manner. And then one of the things I think is really good for us is that you'll see programs that one year they're going to run, ball screen motion. Then the next year they're going to run the triangle. Then the next year they're going to run Princeton. And I think that's hard for kids to develop like that. And so because not only within the offense, but I think from a skill standpoint. So our kids are consistently working on skills that allow them to be successful within our office. And we'll make tweaks a little bit on the offense, but for the most part, we're consistently doing the same things. And I think that's an important part of skill development as well.
Yeah, I think you hit that perfectly, because if you watch you guys play, you can tell you've worked on DHOs, catching up with chain action. You've drilled that beautifully, where offense is the application of skill in space. I guess a little pivot, but we talked to Mike Neighbors, love him. Got to do a couple coaching clinics with the guy.
He's awesome.
He's a big Ted Lasso fan. We talked to Vic Schaefer. He's a big fishing guy. What do you do to turn it off and get away from basketball? Is there anything that you do that you feel gets you to relax a little bit?
Yeah, I'll tell you. One, my wife and I, we have 6 kids, and so I'm usually either working or doing something with them, and they all play some sport of another. Matter of fact, I have a daughter playing at Belmont who's a junior. I have a daughter who plays at Bowling Green. We're gonna play Belmont this year, so that's gonna be cool. December 22nd.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So I do a lot of stuff with the family, but I just started. I've been kind of hit and miss with my own workouts and so forth, and I just really got back on that, and fortunately lost a lot of weight and all that. That was good. And so when I'm working out, I listen to podcasts. They're actually never sports related. Usually, it's usually could be leadership, or it could be, or I listen to a book. The last 2 books that I've listened to were Extreme Ownership and The Lessons of the Bullfrog. Both excellent on leadership. Really, really, really good. And then now I listen to those books, and now I'll do some podcasts. I'll probably hit another book here in the next month or so.
I love it, Coach. That's amazing, man. I also I love the name alliteration of kids. That was awesome. I was taking a look. Yeah, good for you. That's so cool.
that's my wife's doing. She did a great job with that.
Way to thank the pastor. There you go.
Yeah.
Coach, well, you said your 2 daughters play in college. I know Dusty May at FAU is not allowed to coach his kids, so they went to other schools. Do you have something similar where your wife did not allow you to coach your kids, or they just chose to go somewhere different?
No, I think I kind of wanted them to have their own experience, basically. I thought it would be really good in terms of their growth and development, to be away a little bit, and just to have a different voice, and to kind of, because to have to navigate that and take the highs and lows with that, and where we're not there holding their hand through it. I think in the long run, this will be a great thing for their development and who they become as young women.
I got one more question on the basketball side, as far as it goes with Mark Walberg. In the previous stuff, you said that you were not into pressing at all.
Yeah.
And so that has obviously changed how you guys play. And I got to watch a couple of your games last year, and you made some really good teams look like they didn't know how to play basketball because of how you guys pressed. And do you see the game changing to see more teams pressing, or what are your thought process behind that?
When I got the job at Xavier, it was almost like, hey, we're going to teach man-to-man and emphasize it, and then we're going to burn the boats. And I tell the team, like, hey, this is all we're doing. So you want to be good, then get good at it. So, and we were really good at man-to-man defense. And I did the same thing at Washington, and we were good there, not as good as we were at Xavier defensively, but we were good. And then when I got to Ohio State, and we really early on, and by the way, ever since I ran the dribble drive, Vance Walberg, he would, every time I'd talk to him, I'd say, hey, what about, we're not good at this or that, and how can I drill it? And he'd tell me, and every conversation he would end with, "I'm telling you, you need to look at our defense. I think you're going to like it." I'd be like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm playing man." And I finally, when I got to Ohio State, and early on, we recruited really, really athletic teams, and we're deep. And I said, "Well, I don't know. Let me look at this. And maybe it will be something I like." And then I really liked it, and so we did it for a while. Then I got away from it a little bit with just the teams we had probably the middle of my tenure. And in the last couple of years, I've brought it back because we're once again back to being really athletic and really deep.
Mm. Yeah, it's so cool. It looks like you guys control tempo really well, and you take people out there they want the most, and now they're operating with a lower shot clock. Like it's awesome, man.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, coaches by nature want to control everything, and so they're you're not we played Connecticut last year in the Sweet 16, and had we let them walk the ball up and run offense, they would have carved us. That's what they do. They have really well organized offense. They cut hard. They make reads, and we would not have won the game. But because we disrupted them in the half court, we turned them over, obviously, and we're able to convert that into points. But I just think by virtue of them having to break the pressure, then try to get organized, then try to execute, it played to our favor. And so even when we're not turning people over, we're not letting them walk the ball up the floor and run offense.
Yeah, you definitely control the pulse, which is great. And I was talking to Coach West earlier, and he said like you guys are really emphasizing conditioning in this time of the year, and I'm sure it's a precursor for how you play. Is there any best practices, things that you like, or is it just, hey, let's get some cardio in?
We get in shape by the way we practice. So the pressing in practice really helps us get in shape. And I tell them all the time, it's like, hey, I'm sorry, this is one of those things. There's no shortcut. The only way you get in shape is get your ass on the floor and start running. So we do a lot of that. So it's good.
That's great, Coach. The final thing I have is, and we ask all the coaches that are on this, but it's, you as a coach, I think clarity creates consistency, clarity of roles, consistency of play. But we like to ask coaches, I'm at my best when I am blank. How would you finish that sentence? So as a coach, when do you feel you're in a rhythm and you're at your best?
I'm at my best when I'm just locked in and really focused on making sure we're being the team that we're capable of being in terms of identity. Nice. So I'm like, we have a clear identity. Totally. And so I emphasize identity in all the things that make up our identity on a daily basis. And, I have, this kind of cliche, and coaches say there's two people that can't have a bad day, and that's the point guard and the head coach. And, when I'm at my best, when I'm really emphasizing our pace in terms of our offensive pace, our spacing, and our pressing.
That's awesome. Appreciate it, Coach.
That's great.
For sure.
And how would you define success?
Well, from a program standpoint, if my goal is that, I'm at Ohio State, we have a lot of resources. And so tapping into those resources is something I had to figure out around here because it's just so different than any of the places I've been. But my goal for our program is that we're the very best in women's basketball at helping our young people develop as young women, as students, and as basketball players. And if we're doing that, everything we're trying to do on the court is going to take care of itself.
Awesome. We appreciate you, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. We love what you do, man, and we love what you're doing for the game, and just want to, celebrate you and your program.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, Coach. Yeah, well, please stay in touch and
for sure.
Go Buckeyes, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, man. OH. See you later.
I-O.
Yeah, baby. See you, Coach.
See ya.